a small town deep in the valley, and beyond the mountains, higher than any I had seen before. The plot of land and the house which sat upon it belonged to my brother, my eldest brother. Why he ended up in this remote northern country, the country it transpired of our family's ancestors, an obscure though reviled people who had been dogged across borders and put into pits, had doubtless to do, at least in part, with his sense of history, oriented as it was towards progress, turned towards the future, ever in search of efficiencies. From a practical point of view, and pragmatism was naturally of the utmost importance to my brother, he was also engaged in some perfectly reasonable, if slightly perverse, business dealings, for he was, or at least had been, a businessman involved in the successful selling and trading, importing and exporting, of a variety of goods and services, the specifics of which to this day remain a mystery to me. I came to stay in the house upon his request, and initially for a period of 6 months, leaving the country of our birth for this cold and faraway place where my brother had made his life, had at any rate made his money, of which there was, as I would come to see with my very own eyes, a great deal. I saw no reason to object. I had always wanted to live in the countryside, had often driven through the rural areas surrounding my natal city in the autumn, to see the leaves in color, to experience the fresh air, so different from the turgid air downtown, well known to be the primary cause of the high rates of infant mortality. Not that I had children myself, no. Nevertheless, the air quality and its deleterious effects on public health were of concern to me as much as they might have been to any other ordinary citizen. Moreover, as my brother pointed out, it was not as though I had any specific obligations or ties that could not be broken with ease. I allowed this. Here is how it was. I had, so to speak, thrown in the towel. My contemporaries had long surpassed me, had, whether by treachery or superior skill, secured their places in life and in their chosen professions. It was said that it was a terrible thing to realize a lifelong dream, and yet still I wondered why they could not let blood a bit. They bloated with success. There was so much time and nothing to be done. I had only a little bit of will. I was not in on the great joke. For a time I pursued a career as a journalist, but eventually left the news agency at which I had been employed, not even in disgrace. My time there had run its course. There was nothing at all to mark my going. My efforts over the years to obtain a continuous contract of employment had been in vain. The process had been explained to me as a bureaucratic and not at all a personal one. And yet when I responded in kind, that is to say, by invoking the usual bureaucratic processes, and fully within my rights, making a request according to the General Data Protection Regulation guidelines, under the suspicion something fishy was going on, the application was treated as a personal affront, and it was made clear to me that I was not helping myself. In truth, I never had helped myself. I left quietly. No one was sorry to see me go. The job I held just prior to my departure to my brother's home in the country of our forebears, and which I would continue remotely from the same, was as an audio typist for a legal firm, a job at which I excelled, typing quickly and accurately, knowing my work. Nevertheless, I sensed I was unwelcome in the office, which was lined with the usual legal appurtenances, binders and diplomas, leather and wood. I knew that my halting displays of personhood, my miserable insistence on continuing to appear in the office day after day, could only be disheartening to the jurists and paralegals whose voices I typed into a word processor, swiftly, precisely, with devotion and even with love. And so they received my leaving announcement with unconcealed joy, throwing a farewell party in my honor, staging a kind of feast, and donating lavish gifts. It did not take long for me to set my affairs in order, a matter of weeks, 3 months at the outside. And, the journey having passed without incident, here I was. The country air would be good for me, I felt, and the seclusion. When my brother did not need me, I might take advantage of the various woodland paths maintained by local voluntary groups. I would be quiet. At the time of my arrival, my brother was not yet ailing. Truly, he was in the very pink of health, the prime of his life.